Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India successfully intercepts Pakistani missiles. 8 missiles from Pakistan directed at Satwari, Samba, Araspura and Arnia. India's External Affairs Minister speaks to his US counterpart Marco Rubio. Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Antonio Tajani and European Union's Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas underlines India's targeted and measured response to cross-border terrorism. India neutralizes air defense system at Lahore in response to Pakistan targeting military assets in 15 Indian cities last night. India's External Affairs Minister warns any military attack on India will get a firm response. Foreign Secretary displays an image of state funeral for a slain terrorist, further exposing Islamabad's terror links.
If there are military attacks on us, there should be no doubt that it will be met with a very, very firm response.
And Robert Prevost of the United States named Pope Leo XIV. Hello and welcome. It is just after midnight in New Delhi, 7:30 in the evening in London and just after 2:30 in the afternoon in Washington DC, and you're watching DD India Newshour. In a major escalation, Pakistan launched 8 missiles targeting key areas in Jammu, Satwari, Samba, Araspura and Arnia in the evening. However, in a swift and decisive response, all missiles were successfully intercepted by India's armed forces. According to defense sources, the attack was repelled with 0 casualties, showcasing India's robust defense preparedness and real-time operational readiness. Striking similarity, though, to Hamas's tactics, visuals emerging from Jammu show multiple low-cost rapid-fire projectiles, drawing chilling parallels with Hamas-style rocket attacks on Israel. The Pakistani army is operating more like a terror organization with tactics resembling those of Hamas. Now, this is further supported by recent intelligence reports suggesting a meeting between ISI and Hamas operatives in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir last month. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Thursday. All right, joining us on the phone line on this segment of our special broadcast is my colleague Nandita Daga, who covers the defense beat for us. Nandita, talk to us once again, if you will, about the Pakistani actions across the line of control and the international border, and more importantly, India's decisive response to those provocations.
Our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, had, after the heinous, barbaric, uncivilized, absolutely animal attack on our innocent tourists, 26 tourists in Pahalgam, our Prime Minister Modi had vowed that India will avenge their killing, and aptly titled Operation Sindoor, India carried out on 7th of May, where it targeted only terrorist infrastructure. Our Foreign Ministry, our defense officials in a press briefing making it absolutely clear, Ramesh, that no military installations of Pakistan, no civilian infrastructure, no political headquarters were targeted, only terrorist camps, known terrorist camps, not just by India but across the world. Muzaffarabad, Muridke, Bahawalpur, these are known places where these terrorist masterminds reside and are free and openly preach and train and radicalize local Pakistani youth to become terrorists and target India. They were targeted a day after that again. Today, when Pakistan targeted 15 of our cities with small drones, missiles, and again they were thwarted by India, neutralized by India, brought down by our surface-to-air missiles. In fact, there is a very good video footage of the Lahore Air Defense facility of Pakistan at Lahore, that going up in flames in an explosion. And the Pakistani army and our foreign ministry in a press conference today evening around 5 to 6 p.m. If you remember, today in the evening, as you know, had absolutely made it clear that India avenged, first of all, responded to the killing of our innocent tourists first on 7th of May, and now the actions that Pakistan carried out on 15 of our cities along the border. This attack on the Lahore the Lahore Air Defense Facility was a response to that, and India does not wish to escalate further. This was made clear that all these military responses or these kinetic actions taken by India were in a very measured manner, very, very clinical, very, very surgical and non-escalatory in nature, and therefore if Pakistan tries to escalate, India will have no choice but to climb up the escalatory ladder. And that is what happened when around 8:45 we started hearing reports of places, the Jammu airport alert, air raid sirens being sounded at the Jammu and the Pathankot airports. The entire Jammu city was in blackout, power was cut, and at several places there were rockets in the plains, the border areas such as Punjab, Gujarat and Rajasthan, but small drones and kamikaze drones and missiles. 8 missiles is what the armed forces are saying. 8 missiles that were fired from Pakistan into our Jammu region, places like Satwari, Arnia, RS-Pura, etc. And all these 8 missiles were neutralized. They were brought down. There was no casualty to our Indian civilians or Indian citizens. And across the frontage, south of Jammu, that is the Punjab border, the Rajasthan border, the Gujarat border, a string of cities the lights went out in these cities, air raids, sirens sounded, people were advised by the local district administration through radio, etc., to stay indoors. We now are getting reports that the iconic India Gate in central Lutyens, Delhi, the police have asked people to clear that just in case that it becomes a target for the Pakistanis. So all precautionary measures have been taken, and India has thwarted all this. When Pakistan stepped the escalatory ladder, India has stepped that too, because our foreign secretary had made it clear that it in his briefing and had made India stand clear that India did not start this. India has never started any war with Pakistan, but if provoked and if attacked, India will respond, and respond in a way that, as our Prime Minister had said, that unko zameen nahi milegi unke, if I translate that Hindi into English for our foreign audiences, he said that there would be no space left for the terrorist masterminds. And that is what India carried out on 7th of May. India has the right to self-defense. Any self-respecting sovereign nation cannot see 26 of its tourists being killed in a tourist resort at point-blank range, military-style execution at point-blank range in front of their family members. And therefore, India carried out Operation Sindoor. As I said, no self-respecting nation can let this go by, and India still did not carry out any attacks on Pakistani military installations, only these terrorist training camps at Muridke, Bahawalpur, where known terrorists such as Hafiz Saeed, Maulana Masood Azhar, these are proscribed terrorist groups. These are terrorists, actually designated terrorists, not just by the US but by the United Nations Security Council, also by several Western capitals. And India, and several resolutions have been adopted in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as well as in the United Nations Security Council against these terrorists. And when their launch pads, their headquarters are targeted, India was well within its right to have done that. And Pakistan today, to save its face, to show into the world community and primarily to its domestic population, to its own population, that the Pakistani army is not just a paper tiger, it will still respond, has carried out these attacks, but they've all been thwarted, they've all been neutralized, and they've all been rendered useless with no casualties so far.
Indeed. So as my colleague Nandita is reporting there, all missiles, projectiles, drones fired by Pakistan at India, at Indian targets, have been intercepted, shot down with, as she was reporting there, with zero casualties. Just to emphasize that point here, please viewers, it's absolutely necessary that you should go by authentic and authoritative information and not be misled by misinformation, propaganda or disinformation propagated by Pakistani elements or the Pakistani government. As Nandita was reporting there, Indian response has been firm, severe, categorical. India giving a befitting response to all Pakistani provocations. Nandita, thank you for joining us and sharing those updates with our viewers in India and abroad. Thank you, much appreciated. In the meantime, let me pull up some more news for viewers joining us on this broadcast. Earlier in the day, India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar warned that India has no intention to escalate, but if attacked, India will be met with a very, very strong response.
Excellency, you are visiting India at a time when we are responding to a particularly barbaric terrorist attack on 22nd April in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. This attack compelled us to respond on 7th May by striking at cross-border terrorist infrastructure. Our response was targeted and measured. It is not our intention to escalate the situation. However, if there are military attacks on us, there should be no doubt that it will be met with a very, very firm response. As a neighbor and a close partner, it is important that you have a good understanding of the situation.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar also spoke with his US counterpart, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, on Thursday evening local time. The minister deeply appreciated the US commitment to working with India in the fight against terrorism, and he underlined India's targeted and measured response to cross-border terrorism. Minister Jaishankar said that India will firmly counter any attempts at escalation. Minister Jaishankar also spoke with the Vice President of the European Commission, Kaja Kallas, and discussed about ongoing developments. Minister Jaishankar said India has been measured in its actions, but any escalation will receive a firm response. And Minister Jaishankar also spoke with Italy's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Antonio Tajani, and discussed India's targeted and measured response to firmly counter terrorism. The minister said that any escalation, as I said before, will be met with a strong response. All right, joining us on this special broadcast is Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director, India Foundation. General Katoch, welcome to this broadcast. First up, General Katoch, why don't you talk to our viewers in India and importantly around the world about Pakistani provocations and India's befitting response to those provocations, General?
Thank you, Ramesh. what happened on the 22nd of April was an act which no respectable community anywhere in the world will do.
Right.
It was the most abominable attack, and at that time I made a statement, it was worse than the Mumbai attack. I understand that the Mumbai attack kept on for 3 days. I understand that the casualties were more, but the circumstances this time were different.
True.
This is unacceptable. And obviously, India had to give a response, and India gave that response, as you have very rightly brought out, on the 7th of April, 7th of May. Now, a few things have come out now. One, the Indian political leadership has shown very firm leadership. And I think without that leadership, nothing else will work. That is the most important step in any counteraction. One. Number two, the Indian armed forces have shown great cohesion, and they have carried out precision strikes in a manner never seen before in India's military history. In this, they were supported by all elements of the civil administration, especially the intelligence agencies and the diplomats, and our diplomats all across the world. It is simply not a military effort. It is the whole of India effort, a whole of government effort, a whole of people effort. Everybody got together to put all the pieces in place to carry out that brilliant attack on the 7th of May, which targeted 9 specific points to pinpoint accuracy, eliminated 9 camps of the terrorist groups without any collateral damage. Very few countries in the world could have carried out an attack of that nature. Very few countries could have had the political will to do it. That is number two. Now, I think the Prime Minister made it very clear 2 days later after the horrific Pahalgam attack when he spoke in Bihar. And he made 2 points. And he said, I tell the world, we will avenge the killers. We will avenge this killing. We will take the killers. And then he said something very important. Many people really missed it out. And he said, and we will get those who backed them. Now, many people thought when he was talking about the killers, he was talking about the 3 or 4 or 5 terrorists who actually pulled the gun. That is not the job of the PM. That the military will do. He was actually referring to the organization behind those killers, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Hizbul Mujahideen. So that was the first organization which he said we will avenge. That avenge has taken place.
Okay.
But then he also said we will take the backers. And the backers are the DGISI, the Chief of Army Staff, and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. And that action is what we are seeing now. Because Pakistan has escalated, the second phase has started. That we will take down those people. This Pakistan government has to be brought down. Those killers have to be brought to book. And I think that is really, in my view, the larger aim of what we are seeing unfolding. In the tonight is going to be, Ramesh, is going to be a very, very long night. A very long night.
Why do you say that, General? What are you
days are going to be
anticipating?
very long too. But justice will be served. And you are going to see, in my view, great happenings in Pakistan, a great churning in Pakistan, a great deal of introspection in Pakistan, and we will see where that leads to, whether it leads to a regime change or anything else. Time will tell. But they will be taught a lesson for doing something as cruel, as heinous as Pahalgam. It is unacceptable, and they deserve punishment.
General Kochar, you said it's going to be a long night tonight as we speak. What do you mean by that? What are you anticipating or suggesting?
Very frankly, every single action which has taken place, in fact, I was on Doordarshan at about 7 o'clock in the evening on the news.
Right.
And I said, I made a statement. I said, what has really happened, whether there'll be escalation or not, tonight will tell.
Okay.
And now it is just past 12 o'clock. We have seen the way action has unfolded, the way Pakistan has carried out multiple attacks all across in various border towns of India, and how every single attack has been repulsed. And the way the border shelling is going on in Pakistan along the line of control. So all those actions have taken place in the night, and we have repulsed them with force. By the time we come to tomorrow morning, the picture will be clearer as to what exactly Pakistan has suffered. India would have also suffered losses. There's no doubts about it. In a war, it is not one-sided. But we will take the pain. The people of India will bear the pain. The armed forces will bear the pain. The political authority will bear the consequences. But punishment will be meted out to Pakistan. And by tomorrow morning, the picture will become clearer. It's going to be a long night. It is going to be a very bitter, long night. In my view, war has already broken out. We may not declare it, but every single action which I'm seeing on the ground is war. And that is what we are seeing. There's no declaration of war, but the ground actions, every bit of ground action is what we saw on the 3rd of December, 1971, when war broke out between India and Pakistan.
What you're saying or suggesting, General Katoch, is very ominous, to say the least. But coming back to the Pakistani the provocations, are you suggesting that Pakistan sought to attack or target both civilian and military targets, both across the LOC and the international border?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You see, what is happening is the Pakistan military is not fighting the war for Pakistan. This is a huge, this must be understood. Asim Munir, their chief, is fighting for his survival. He's not fighting for his country. And that is where I think the fundamental difference lies. That is why they're going on the wrong path. And unless Pakistan changes course and unless they introspect, they are going to get it very badly. No country fights a war the way Pakistan is going about it. Everything they're doing is wrong. He is taking his country down the brink. They're going deeper and deeper into a bog from which they cannot get out unless this man is removed. Now, the political authority doesn't, Shehbaz Sharif, he can't do anything. This change will have to take place within the Pakistan military when they realize what they are losing actually. Once they realize that, and that thing comes very clear to them, that Munir is really, what he has become is something like he's a military mullah, He is doing religious dialogue now. He's trying to carry out a religious war. This is not what the people of Pakistan want. This is not why they made him the chief. They made him the chief to keep Pakistan safe. He's doing everything in his power to destroy his country, to keep himself safe. That is why, in my view, you are going to see rapid changes. The more Pakistan gets hit, the more the military gets a beating, the more will be the angst, not against India. This angst is going to be played out against the military chief. And we are going to see it, as I told you, it's a long night. It'll be a long day tomorrow. It'll be a long night day after. But I think after that time, the changes will be very, very apparent.
Right. So, long night, says General Katoch, a night perhaps of reckoning. General Katoch, let me pause here and update our viewers, recap for them the developments over the last several hours. I'll come back to you momentarily. Please stay on. First and foremost, viewers, this is what you need to understand and know. India successfully intercepted Pakistani missiles. 8 missiles from Pakistan directed at Satwari, Samba, Araspura and Arnia. Point number 1. Point number 2, this is again what you should know. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has spoken to many world leaders, including but not limited to the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, and EU's Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas. And Minister Jaishankar underlining to those world leaders India's targeted and measured response to cross-border terrorism, and also India neutralizing air defense system of Pakistan at Lahore, and in response to Pakistan targeting military assets in 15 Indian cities last night. And last but not the least, India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar warning any military attack on India will get a firm response, and it is happening as we speak. Also, Foreign Secretary displaying an image, a photograph of a so-called state funeral for a slain terrorist, which further exposes Islamabad's terror links. And we have seen and heard from the minister himself in no uncertain terms, reiterating India's categorical response and befitting response, if I may add, to all Pakistani provocations. Right, for viewers, if you're just joining us, we still have with us our guest, General Katoch, to walk you through the import of the developments that we're reporting here on this special broadcast. General Katoch, coming back to the Pakistani provocation, India's response. Now, one dimension of what has transpired, and correct me if I'm wrong, officials or sources suggesting that Pakistani army's tactics or MO, modus operandi, resembling very closely to that of the Hamas. The Pakistani army, some would say, is a veritable terror organization itself, and that Pakistan is a fit case to be labeled or designated as a state sponsor of terrorism.
Oh, yes. Actually, Pakistan has been a state sponsor of terrorism for the last 4 decades. It started off in the late 80s where they started using terrorism as an instrument of state policy, and they have continued to do so. For Pakistan, it became a very low-cost option because it involved for India deploying a large number of troops in Jammu and Kashmir just to keep the situation stable and enable government to function. But it came at a very heavy cost to us, and we didn't go to war with them. Then, when we come down to even Kargil, they violated the Shimla Accord, and they carried out cross-border incursion with their army, and they once India went to war over that, and we refused to cross the international border, and we simply recovered our territories. After that, they refused to take back the bodies of their dead soldiers. They said they are not ours. We forced them to do that later. They acknowledged that, okay, they were military troops. Right since then till now, they have behaved like a terrorist organization. I mean, which army in the world behaves like the Hamas? What the Hamas did on the 7th of October, 2 years back, 2 years back, yes, 1.5 years back,
right,
was unexceptionable. They killed 1,000 plus civilians, men, women, and children. They brutalized them. They took their women and children prisoners. They murdered little babies. This is exactly what the Hamas has done. What the Hamas did then, this is exactly what the Pakistan-sponsored terrorists did in Pahalgam. Which is why I said it is the worst terror attack in India's history and something which has hit at the soul of India. This is the one which really hit us hard. Something they tried, but the soul cannot be killed. In Mumbai, they attacked the heart of India, our commerce. Here they attacked our soul. Their intention was to break this country, and they have failed miserably. Now, that country will break. They have got too many problems. The way they have dealt with the Bangladeshis in 71, the way they are dealing with the Baloch today, the murders and the killings and the rapes of the women which are being carried out every single day is a shame on any army. I don't think the Pakistan army can be called an army. It's a ragtag force with very strong weapons. And that is where the challenge lies. This change has to come, in my view, internally from within Pakistan. Is this the country they want to be? And if that is the country they want to be, then I think we have to dismember that country. That is not something which we would like as our neighbor. And, many people say we can't change our neighbors. Yes, we cannot change our neighbors, but I think it is incumbent on India as a growing power to ensure that the neighbors behave properly. We have to change their behavior. We have to change their attitude. While we cannot change the geography, there are many things which we can change. And I think we have a prime minister who has got the political will to do it. We've got an external affairs minister who follows the same line, a defense minister and a home minister who follow exactly the same line. The top line leadership in the Indian political establishment is absolutely set to do this task. We have today a very strong, capable military. The 3 wings of the armed forces are outstanding, very well armed, very well led. We have an intelligence service which works very well. We have a strong bureaucracy. And most importantly, we have got the people of India united behind the government, united behind the military, united behind the nation as one, including the opposition. That is all the signs of victory, and we are going to achieve that victory now.
Indeed, just to reinforce the point General Kochar is making there, India categorically saying to anybody who cares to listen tonight as we speak, that India will not be the first to initiate or start or escalate matters, but if provoked, if threatened, if attacked, India will not shy away from giving a befitting response to all Pakistani provocations. On that note, General Kochar, let me pull up some more news for our viewers so that they are updated on the development that have taken place in the last several hours between India and Pakistan. Do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. Now, viewers, India successfully foiled escalation attempts by Pakistan at multiple locations, going to the extent of destroying Lahore's air defense systems. Now, Pakistan's attempt to ratchet up its confrontation with India by targeting military installations using drones and missiles were successfully negated. Government also ordered Indian OTT platforms to stop streaming all songs, movies, series, podcasts made in Pakistan. Is a report by my colleague Fuzail Ahmed. Take a look.
Pakistan suffered another blow on Thursday. Its attempt to escalate tension with India by targeting military installations at multiple locations along India's western frontiers was successfully thwarted. In retaliation, its air defense system at Lahore was neutralized by India.
Today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. It has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized.
India's Ministry of Defense in a statement said that on the intervening night of May 7 and 8, 2025, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western frontiers of India, including the sectors of Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur, Bathinda, Chandigarh, Nal, Palhodi, Uttarlai, and Bhuj. These sectors were targeted using drones and missiles. These were intercepted and destroyed by India's integrated counter, UAS grid and air defense systems.
आज सुबह भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने पाकिस्तान के कई स्थानों पर वायु रक्षा रडार और प्रणालियों को निशाना बनाया। भारत की प्रतिक्रिया समान क्षेत्र में समान तीव्रता के साथ की गई।
Pakistan's reputation as the epicenter of global terrorism is rooted in a number of instances. Recently, Pakistan's army personnel were seen attending a funeral of a terrorist wrapped in Pakistani flag.
I pointed this out yesterday that this is a group that is a known front for the well-known Pakistan-based terrorist organization, Lashkar-e-Taiba. The group has been reported earlier. I mentioned to you about the Indian authorities providing information to the UN 1267 Sanctions Monitoring Committee. In fact, we are going to be meeting with the team again very soon, and we will be providing an update to the information that we have provided earlier.
In another decision, government also asked OTT platforms and media streaming platforms to discontinue Pakistani origin content, including web series, films, songs, podcasts, and other streaming media content. Attempted military action by Pakistan against India came a day after Indian armed forces carried out Operation Sindoor at 4 terrorist camps in Pakistan and 5 in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Fuzail Ahmed reports for DD India.
Meanwhile, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri also said that India's Executive Director at the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, will put forward the country's position at a board meeting on May 9, that is Friday. The Foreign Secretary's remarks came in response to a query on New Delhi asking for a review of loans to Pakistan.
We have an executive director at the IMF. Tomorrow there is a meeting of the board of the IMF, and I'm sure that our executive director will put forward India's position. The decisions of the board are a different matter. You know the process through which they are made. But I think the case with regard to Pakistan should be self-evident to those people who generously open their pockets to bail out this country. And since you are from Bloomberg, I think you would have the data on how many IMF bailout programs have been, very good, thank you, have been sanctioned in the space of the last 3 decades. And I think you would also have an idea of how many of those programs have actually reached successful conclusion. Probably not many. So I think this is a decision that board members have to take by looking deep within themselves and looking at the facts.
All right, let me go back to my guest, General Katoch, who is joining us on this broadcast. General Katoch, you have told our viewers on this broadcast that this is going to be a long night a decisive night, if I might add, a night of reckoning, because the provocations from Pakistan do not seem to stop anytime soon, and therefore India being compelled to give a befitting response in retaliation to those provocations. Now, you raised a number of points in your intervention earlier there. You spoke about the civil-military relations in Pakistan, how the future of General Asim Munir, the Pakistani army chief, might be in doubt, and also about the misinformation or disinformation campaign being launched by Pakistan government or the elements in Pakistan, both including in the digital domain, the online domain. We saw this photograph, General Katoji, if I might draw your attention to the Foreign Secretary's briefing in New Delhi. He held up a photograph of a so-called state funeral for a slain terrorist attended by uniformed soldiers of the Pakistani army, which exposed the close linkages that exist between the Pakistani army and those terrorist outfits. What does that tell you about the complicity of the Pakistani state in fomenting, in aiding, abetting cross-border terrorism directed in particular against India?
Very frankly, that photograph says it all. Which army in the world takes
Which
out
self-respecting army, if I might add?
Yeah, I beg your pardon, yes. Which respecting army in the world, goes and takes out a procession like that for a terrorist? The terrorists operate below the radar. They've got no rules, no regulations. They carry out the most brutal and heinous crimes against everybody, including against the Pakistani people. And here you have come as a military. You have given him a guard of honor. You have given him the respect given to heroes in the battlefield. And these people were nothing short of criminals. The Pakistan army has been clearly exposed. Their army chief has been exposed. Their DG ISI has been exposed. All of them are involved. And this process started right from the time of Zia, when he started his process of Islamization. And those young boys, young officers of that time, of Zia's time, are the leaders of today. And that is where Pakistan's tragedy lies. Now, that is what, a country, a military has to fight for its people. The Pakistan military fights for itself. That's a huge change. And unless there is a changing within the Pakistani establishment, both the political establishment, the way they run their polity, and the military, things are not going to get better for Pakistan. They're going to get worse. I think India has been partially responsible also. Permit me to look into ourselves as a matter of self-criticism. We ignored Pakistan's atrocious behavior for a very long time. We gave them a very long rope. They carried out terrorist attack after terrorist attack. And we kept on thinking, perhaps they could be friends. Perhaps we can turn them. Even Prime Minister Modi, as soon as he took over, took that famous, when he went to Lahore, firstly he called them for his swearing in. They came, the Prime Minister came. Then he took that unscheduled visit when he was coming back from Afghanistan, and he stopped at Lahore for his niece's wedding. And immediately they did an attack on our airbase. And after that, the Prime Minister realized, and the government of India realized, this army and this country are in the grip of terrorists and terrorism. And that is where the policy changed, where the Prime Minister gave a statement. He says, talks and terror cannot go together. And the isolation of Pakistan started from that time. From late 2014, that policy started. And very shortly we see, in a very short time, 3 to 4 years, Pakistan got isolated on the international stage. Then we also saw how Pakistan got isolated within itself. And then we come to 2019, when Jammu and Kashmir, when 370 was removed. And those linkages which the local political parties had established, especially the Hurriyat, with the Pakistani military, they started getting broken and Kashmir became peaceful. And now, as a last desperate effect, this man, their chief, Asim Munir, General Munir, what he says now, he wants to get back Kashmir to center stage. He doesn't have the military power to do so. He doesn't have the strength. So what does he do? He plays the communal card and he gives a lecture. Hindus and Muslims are different. And then a few days later, we come to Pahalgam. And I was certain that time, I said, now they have crossed the Lakshman Rekha. There's no way in which the Indian government, especially a government led by Prime Minister Modi, is going to forgive that. That nobody in India will forgive, certainly not the Prime Minister. So action had to be taken. And when the Prime Minister announced on the, a few days later from Bihar, and he told the world, I tell the world that we will take action. That time, India crossed the Rubicon. We bound ourselves. Yes, we will take action and we will destroy this terror mold, whatever it takes. So what you're seeing now is that unfolding. Now, the night is going to be long. I've got no doubts about it. Pakistan has carried out artillery shelling all along the line of control. That shelling is not going to stop. India is responding. It isn't that everything Pakistan is doing and India is sitting quiet. The military is capable. I have served in those areas. Of course, my time was many years earlier. We knew what to do. The present leadership is outstanding. They know exactly what to do, and they will do it with full force. The good part of it is today the whole of India is one. 140 crore Indians are one. The military, the political leadership, the opposition, all 140 crore is one. That is an unbeatable force. No army can take you on. This is a battle we are going to win.
Indeed, as you say, General Kochar, India's patience is not inexhaustible. Thus far and no further, enough is enough. India will retaliate and give a befitting response, as it is doing as we speak, to every Pakistani provocation, miscalculation, or call it whatever you will, misadventurism. But India is retaliating and giving back as good as it gets. On that note, General Kochar, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers in India and most importantly, all around the world. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Right, and get you some more news on this broadcast exposing Pakistan's links to global terrorists. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said that Pakistan's reputation as the epicenter of global terrorism is based on numerous instances, including the fact that Osama bin Laden was found there. Take a listen.
I think Pakistan's reputation as the epicenter of global terrorism is rooted in a number of instances where concrete evidence is available, not just to India, but to governments and authorities and agencies around the world. There are several terrorist attacks around the world where Pakistani fingerprints have been found. I don't need to belabor the point with regard to this audience about where Osama bin Laden was found and who called him a martyr.
The Foreign Secretary also saying that Pakistan indulges in delaying tactics and stonewalling tactics. There's enough reason to believe that Pakistan uses evidence that India provides only to cover its tracks and defend the terrorists who India is looking for and obstructing the path of investigation.
Of justice for the victims of multiple terrorist attacks, whether it be Mumbai in 2008, in Pathankot in 2016, or many others. But in particular for these two attacks, India had offered to cooperate. India provided forensic evidence and urged Pakistan to bring the perpetrators of these attacks to justice. The experience has not been positive, and it certainly doesn't give us the confidence now to take at face value Pakistani assertions of wishing to participate in a joint investigation. These are just delaying tactics. These are just stonewalling tactics. And in fact, there is reason to believe that Pakistan uses the evidence that we provide only to cover its tracks and, in fact, defend the terrorists who we are looking for.
All right, in some other world news, Cardinal Robert Prevost, a little-known missionary from Chicago, U.S., was elected and a surprise choice to be the new leader of the Catholic Church on Thursday, becoming the first U.S. Pope and taking the name Leo XIV. Pope Leo appeared on the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica after white smoke had billowed from a chimney atop the Sistine Chapel, signifying the 133 cardinal electors had chosen a new leader for the 1.4 billion strong Catholic Church. President Donald Trump swiftly congratulated Prevost on becoming the first U.S. Pope. Prevost becomes the 267th Catholic Pope after the death last month of Pope Francis. And that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Newshour.